Coming up next, the national and international news.
His Majesty the King receives a briefing by the GCC Secretary-General on issues at the next GCC summit in Kuwait. His Highness the Prime Minister receives His Highness the Crown Prince before his departure overseas. A car blast injures 41 American troops and 6 Iraqis in the Iraqi city of Mosul. And a suicide bombing near the Russian parliament kills at least 6 people. You're watching the news from Bahrain Television. I'm Nadia Swan. Good evening. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received at Sakhir Palace today New Zealand's Prime Minister Helen currently visiting the kingdom. His Majesty the King praised the ties linking Bahrain and New Zealand and affirmed that this visit will open new venues of cooperation and bilateral efforts, as well as boost economic and trade relations. During their meeting, they discussed means of developing cooperation and reviewed regional and international developments, in addition to issues of mutual interest. His Majesty King Hamad wished Prime Minister Clark success in strengthening cooperative ties. Ms. Clark praised Bahrain and New Zealand's ties, highlighting their coordination in the fields of politics, economics and commerce. Present were Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Mohammed bin Mubarak Al Khalifa, the Minister of Royal Court Affairs Sheikh Ali bin Isa Al Khalifa, the Minister of the Royal Court Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, and the State Minister for Foreign Affairs Dr. Mohammed bin Abdul Ghaffar. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received at Sakhir Palace today the GCC Secretary-General Mr. Abdul Rahman bin Hamad Al Attiyah, currently visiting the kingdom. His Majesty the King praised the efforts of Al Attiyah and all those working in the Secretariat General to enhance the GCC march at all levels and in various fields. The Secretary-General briefed His Majesty the King on a number of issues proposed on the agenda of the GCC summit due in Kuwait. His Majesty the King affirmed the importance of this summit in light of the regional circumstances, voicing hope for the success of the summit that might lead to resolutions and recommendations that meet with the aspirations of the GCC people. His Majesty the King also reviewed with the Secretary-General a number of regional and Arab issues. Present were the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Mohammed bin Mubarak Al Khalifa, the Minister of Royal Court Affairs Sheikh Ali bin Isa Al Khalifa, Minister of the Royal Court Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received at Sakhir Palace today the Board Chairman of the National Bank of Kuwait, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Rahman Al Bahar, and his accompanying delegation currently visiting Bahrain to attend the opening of the bank's new headquarters. His Majesty the King congratulated the NBK Board Chairman and hailed the historical ties between Bahrain and Kuwait and the progress of bilateral cooperation at all levels, notably in the financial and banking domain. His Majesty the King praised the effective role played by the private sector in developing cooperation ties through financial, banking and trade activities in the country. Present at the meeting were the Minister of Royal Court Affairs, Sheikh Ali bin Isa Al Khalifa, Minister of the Royal Court, Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, Minister of Finance and National Economy, Mr. Abdullah Hassan Saif, BMA Governor, Sheikh Ahmed bin Mohammed Al Khalifa, BMA Deputy Governor, Mr. Khalid Abdullah Al Bassam, and a number of BMA officials. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received today at Sakhir Palace Saudi Islamic scholar Sheikh Dr. Ayed Al Gharni, currently on a lecture tour of Bahrain. His Majesty the King welcomed the guest and hailed the importance of such visits, as well as the role played by religious scholars in spreading morals and Islamic principles and in protecting the youth from delinquency, expressing the kingdom's pride in receiving religious scholars and to exchange with them opinions on various issues pertaining to the Islamic nations, wishing Sheikh Ayed every success. Then Sheikh Ayed read a poem before His Majesty the King on the occasion of his visit to Bahrain. Present were the Minister of Royal Court Affairs, Sheikh Ali bin Isa Al Khalifa, Minister of the Royal Court, Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, and Second Deputy Chairman of the Representative Council, Sheikh Adil bin Abdurrahman Al Mauda.
إن كان قد سيدوك الناس من حجر ورصعت فوقك الأضواء والنجف فجسم أرواحنا الله سيده بمحكم الوحي مما غمت الصحف محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم شاد مبناه وعمره فالدهر من هيبة البنيان يرتجف وبارك الله ذكرى جسر وحدتنا فكيف من بعد هذا الحب نختلف بحرين مني سلام الله ما هتفت ورقا في عشها بالشيح تلتحف بحر من الجود كم وصنا بلجته وآخر من جان الحق مختلف بحرين يا درة الأيام هل لمست كف الليالي درا ما له صدف بشرت نفسي بها والقلب يهتف بي لقد تأخرت زاد الحزن والأسف ما عدت أصبر من حر الجو وغدا أرى المحبين ألقاهم واعترف وعاشق مثل العليا تؤرقه أحلامه فكأن القلب اختطف حتى وصلنا إلى البحرين باكرها غيث يسح كصافي دمعنا يكف وحاطها الله من عين الحسود بما تحسن العين أو ما تحفظ التحف تسير من فرح في قيادتكم إن شاء الله تسير من فرح باه إلى فرح أبهى ومن مدد الله لا يكف نظمت في عقدها درا يرصعه شعري كما التمر لا شيص ولا حشف قد كدت أكتب من دمع رسائلكم فقلت آتي وهذا الدمع فاغترف نحن مما يحبنا لكن بوجودكم يا جلالة الملك والحد إذا نبارك يعني ما سرت فيه من إصلاح الله يجزاكم بالخير وأنتم أهل لذلك وأسأل الله يجعلكم دائما في نصر وفي فرح وفي سرور.
His Highness the Prime Minister Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa received at his court this morning His Highness the Crown Prince and Commander-in-Chief of the BDF, Sheikh Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, who greeted His Highness the Prime Minister before his departure overseas. His Highness the Prime Minister and His Highness the Crown Prince discussed issues of interest, hailing the efforts in the march of progress and development in the kingdom. Present were the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of His Highness the Prime Minister's Court, Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, Minister of Cabinet Affairs, Mr. Mohammed Al Matawa, Minister of Finance and National Economy, the Minister of State, Mr. Abdul Nabi Al Shala, the Deputy Chairman of BAPCO, Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, the Minister of Interior, Under Secretary for Citizenship, Passport and Residency, the head of His Highness the Crown Prince's Court, Sheikh Mohammed bin Isa Al Khalifa, Office Director and Acting Head of His Highness the Prime Minister's Court, Mohammed Al Urayed, and the Secretary General of the Cabinet, Dr. Yasser Al Nasser. Highness the Prime Minister Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa received at his court this morning the Prime Minister of New Zealand Helen Clark and her accompanying delegation. An official round of talks was held among the two sides, headed by His Highness the Prime Minister and his New Zealand counterpart. His Highness praised the two countries' relations and expressed keenness at increasing cooperation in various fields. Prime Minister Clark praised Bahrain's progress and development process, hailing Bahrain's achievements in the fields of politics, economics, social affairs and legislation. Both sides agreed to boost bilateral ties in economics, commerce and investment, avoid double taxation and implement mechanisms of economic cooperation, as well as to prepare for negotiations of a free trade area between the two countries. They also agreed to boost cooperation in diplomacy, politics, education, transport and aviation, and promote joint investment among businessmen of both countries. Finally, His Highness the Prime Minister and his New Zealand counterpart discussed regional and international developments and agreed on the importance of enhancing security and stability in the region and on the importance of focusing on economic development. Present at the meeting on the Bahraini side were Minister of His Highness's Court Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, Minister of Cabinet Affairs Mr. Mohammed Al Mutawa, Minister of Finance and National Economy Mr. Abdullah Saif, State Minister Abdul Nabi Al-Shala, State Minister for Foreign Affairs and Head of the Honorary Delegation Dr. Mohammed bin Abdul Ghaffar, BAPCO Deputy Board Chairman Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, Interior Undersecretary for Passport and Immigration Affairs Sheikh Rashid bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, Director of His Highness's Office and Acting Head of His Highness's Court Mr. Ali Al Araid, the Cabinet Secretary General Dr. Yasser Al Nasser, and the Director General for Information and Follow-up at His Highness's Court. Present on the New Zealand side was Prime Minister Clark's accompanying delegation. His Highness the Prime Minister Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa was at the airport today to see off New Zealand Prime Minister Mrs. Helen Clark and her accompanying delegation, who left Bahrain for New Zealand following a two-day visit to the kingdom at the invitation of His Highness the Prime Minister, during which she held talks on bilateral ties and ways to bolster them in all fields, in addition to regional and global developments and issues of common concern. She was also bid farewell by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, a number of ministers, Deputy Board Chairman of BAPCO, Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, Governor of Maharak and a number of senior officials in the kingdom. His Highness the Prime Minister had accompanied New Zealand's Prime Minister from her residence at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel to the airport in an official escort, where they were greeted by the Honorary Guard. Then His Highness the Prime Minister bade Mrs. Helen Clark goodbye, wishing her a safe journey. Early this afternoon, His Highness the Prime Minister Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa held a luncheon banquet at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in honour of New Zealand's Prime Minister Helen Clark and her accompanying delegation. Present were the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Islamic Affairs, Sheikh Abdullah bin Khalid Al Khalifa, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed bin Mubarak Al Khalifa, Chairman of the Shura Council, Dr. Faisal Al Musawi, Chairman of the Council of Representatives, Mr. Khalifa Al Bahrani, Head of the Constitutional Court, Mr. Ibrahim Hamaidan, other ministers, officials and guests. His Highness the Prime Minister Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa received today the board chairman of the National Bank of Kuwait, Mr. Mohammed Abdurrahman Al Bahar, and his accompanying delegation. His Highness hailed the historical ties between Bahrain and Kuwait and the progress of bilateral cooperation at all levels, notably in the financial and banking domain. His Highness Sheikh Khalifa congratulated the NBK chairman for the opening of the bank's new headquarters, wishing him every success, asserting Bahrain's full support for national and Arab banking and financial establishments through a set of facilities and simplified regulations. The NBK chairman thanked His Highness for continued support, praising Bahrain's sound regional and international financial status. Present at the meeting were the Minister of His Highness's Court, Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, Minister of Cabinet Affairs, Mr. Mohammed Al Mutawa, Minister of Finance and National Economy, Mr. Abdullah Saif, State Minister, Mr. Abdul Nabi Al Shala, BMA Governor Sheikh Ahmed bin Mohammed Al Khalifa, Deputy Board Chairman of BAPCO Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, Director of His Highness's Office and Acting Head of the Court Mr. Ali Mohammed Al Uraid, Secretary General of the Cabinet Dr. Yasser bin Isa Al Nasser, Director of Information and Follow-up at His Highness's Court Mr. Ibrahim bin Khalifa Al Dosari, and BMA Deputy Governor Mr. Khalid Al Bassam. His Highness the Prime Minister Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa issued a circular on the occasion of the holiday of the Kingdom's National Day, declaring Tuesday and Wednesday, December the 16th and 17th as national holidays. His Highness the Crown Prince and BDF Commander-in-Chief Sheikh Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa bade farewell to His Highness the Agha Khan this morning upon his departure from the Kingdom. During his visit, His Highness the Agha Khan met with His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, His Highness the Crown Prince and other officials, and was briefed on Bahrain's development process. He also reviewed means of cooperation between Bahrain and the Agha Khan network. Also present at the departure were ministers, the head of the Crown Prince's Court, the Governor of Muharraq, and senior officers. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Mohammed bin Mubarak Al Khalifa met today with the Secretary-General of the Gulf Cooperation Council, Mr. Abdurrahman Al Attiyah, currently visiting Bahrain. His visit comes within the framework of ongoing preparations for the GCC summit to be held in Kuwait on the 23rd, 21st and 22nd of this month. At the beginning of the meeting, which was held at the premises of the Foreign Ministry, Sheikh Mohammed welcomed the GCC Secretary-General, commending his efforts and those of the officials of the Secretariat-General in reinforcing joint GCC cooperation. They also reviewed the topic listed on the agenda of the Ministerial Council in its 89th session, preparing for the 24th session for the Supreme Council prior to raising it with GCC leaders. Chairman of the Shura Council, Dr. Faisal al-Musawi, received this morning the Iraqi Foreign Minister, Mr. Hoshair Zabari, and the delegation accompanying him. The chairman of the Shura Council and the Iraqi Foreign Minister discussed the fraternal relations linking the two countries and their people. The two sides reviewed latest developments in Iraq as well as efforts exerted by the ICG to restore stability and security in accomplishing the aspirations of the people of Iraq, affirming Bahrain's support for the Iraqi people. Then the chairman of the Shura Council presented a commemorative gift to the Iraqi minister. Present were the first deputy of Shura Council, Abdurrahman Jamshir, and the second deputy of Shura Council, Khalid al-Maskati, and members of the Shura Council and the Iraqi ambassador to Bahrain, Hassan Mohsin. The Representative Council held its weekly meeting this morning under the chairmanship of Mr. Khalifa al-Dahrani. The Council approved a request from the head of the Public Utilities Committee and Environment and the head of the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Public Security Committee to extend the allocated time of various reports being studied by the two committees. The Council then discussed a question from Council member Sheikh Adel Al-Mauda to the Minister of Information regarding the television programme Big Brother. The Minister of Information assured the government's keenness to preserve Islamic principles and traditional values and affirmed that the programme will not disrupt Islamic values. The Council then agreed to delay the discussion of a report from the Services Committee on a proposal for early retirement for women. The Council then forwarded the following: to the Legislative and Legal Affairs Committee, a draft law for civil services; to the Services Committee, a draft law on Bahrain joining the WIPO sound recording agreement; to the Legislative and Legal Affairs Committee, a draft law on Bahrain joining the WIPO copyright treaty for authors' rights, and a draft law approving an agreement on avoiding double taxation with Belarus; and to the Financial and Economic Affairs Committee, a draft law approving an agreement promoting and protecting investment between Bahrain and Belarus. Then the Council reviewed a report by the Legislative and Legal Committee on the problems faced by today's youth and agreed to form a temporary committee to study the matter further. A proposal on the laws governing the institution of family in Bahrain was also discussed and referred again to the Committee for Re-examination. The Council also approved and forwarded to the Government a report from the Services Committee requesting the Minister of Education to approve the construction of new schools in the Northern Governorate. The Minister said such projects are part of the Ministry's general policy. Another proposal suggesting the reduction of certain fees for needy families was approved and forwarded to the Government. Finally, the Council unanimously agreed to add to its agenda a proposal on stopping the erosion of land in Ainadari, but the Minister of Cabinet Affairs asked the Council to delay its discussion in order to give the Government a chance to study it. The Minister of Information, Mr. Nabil Al-Hamar, left today for Cairo to participate in the extraordinary meeting of the Arab Ministers of Culture due to be held at the Arab League Secretariat General tomorrow. The two-day meeting will discuss a number of Arab cultural issues and coordination between the Arab states, in addition to other matters listed on the meeting's agenda. The Minister was seen off at the airport by the Bahrain Radio and Television Corporation Chief Executive, Mr. Khalil Al-Dawadi, Information Under-Secretary, Mr. Mahmoud Yusuf Al-Mahmoud, Egypt's Ambassador to Bahrain, Mr. Mahmoud Abdul Jawad, and senior officials at the Information Ministry. The minister is accompanied by a delegation comprising Acting Director of Culture, Mr. Abdul Qadir Akil, and Director of the Minister's Office, Mr. Mahmoud Yusuf Al-Dawi. An American helicopter was shot down today by a rocket-propelled grenade near the town of Fallujah, west of Baghdad. A military spokesman said the OH-58D Kiowa observation helicopter from the 82nd Airborne Division made a controlled landing after being hit. Earlier today, a suicide bomber blew up a car packed with explosives at the gates of a military barracks, injuring 41 American troops and 6 Iraqi civilians. The US military said the soldiers manning the gate at the camp in Tal Afar, west of Mosul, had opened fire after the driver charged towards them, ignoring orders to stop. The explosion blew a crater in the street and sent glass and debris flying across a wide area.
Join MTC Vodafone for a whole new experience in mobile telecommunications.
Another explosion rocked a Sunni mosque in the Iraqi capital Baghdad today, killing at least 3 people. The blast occurred just before 7 o'clock at the Ahbab al-Mustafa mosque in the Al-Hurriya district of the city. People living near the mosque said 2 loud explosions rocked the mosque. The explosion happened near the mosque's generator, and it was not immediately known whether the cause was a mechanical fault or an attack. American troops were deployed near the mosque after the explosions, setting up a security zone and blocking off roads leading to the site. In 4 pre-dawn raids in Saddam Hussein's hometown of Tikrit, American troops arrested at least 7 suspects, 3 of whom are believed to have ties to guerrilla cells attacking American troops and Iraqi civilians. In some of the homes in the northern suburb of Qadsiya, the Americans found remote-controlled toys and grenade propellant charges, all frequently used in making bombs, as well as an AK-47 assault rifle with several loaded clips, a handgun and 2 sniping rifle scopes. The commander of the unit which carried out the raids also said that equipment for rocket-propelled grenades was found but did not elaborate any further. Japan's cabinet approved a plan today to dispatch troops to Iraq, a landmark decision setting the stage for what is likely to be the nation's biggest and most dangerous overseas military mission since World War II. Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi convened a special meeting of his cabinet to approve the controversial plan, which critics have said is ill-conceived and violates Japan's pacifist constitution. But Koizumi said the dispatched troops will work on humanitarian projects in Iraq and will not engage in military exercises. Outside Parliament and near the Prime Minister's conference, protesters continued to voice their opposition to the plan, with some calling for his resignation. Tokyo intends to eventually send 500 to 700 soldiers to southern Iraq, but will equip them with the heaviest artillery they have ever taken overseas, according to media reports.
Great. Join MTC Vodafone for a whole new experience in mobile telecommunications.
Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon came under pressure when the UN General Assembly asked the International Court of Justice to decide whether a vast barrier Israel is building in the West Bank is legal. The Palestinian Authority welcomed the UN decision as a message from the international community to Israel that shows the world's opposition to what it considers Israel's aggression. Palestinian Prime Minister Ahmed Qarar welcomed the resolution and accused Israel of attempting to cut off Palestinians with South African-style apartheid-era Bantustan homelands. But Dori Gold, Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon's advisor, described the move as hypocritical, accusing the UN of turning a blind eye to terror attacks carried out on Israelis. A Mercedes car exploded outside the National Hotel across from Moscow's Red Square today, killing at least 6 people and sparking fears of a new wave of terrorism in the heart of the Russian capital. 10 people were injured, 3 are in a serious condition. According to police, it was not clear whether the blast was due to a terrorist act or a business dispute that had turned violent. The Interfax news agency said that a law enforcement official on the site said there may have been 2 suicide bombers and that moments before the blast they had asked passers-by where the Lower House of Parliament was located. It follows an apparent suicide attack on a commuter train near Russia's rebel Chechnya region that killed 44 people. A gas explosion deep in a coal mine in northern China has killed 20 miners. The blast ripped through the Longtai coal mine in the province of Hebei, which surrounds much of Beijing. At the time, 29 miners were on duty about 380 metres underground. 9 were rescued and the bodies of 20 others have been found. Police arrested the mine owner and closed the mine, which has an annual capacity of 50,000 tonnes. China's mining industry is one of the world's biggest, but also its deadliest. Moving on to some financial news now. The BMA Governor Sheikh Ahmed bin Mohammed Al Khalifa opened today at the State House, a commercial branch of the National Bank of Kuwait. Sheikh Ahmed hailed the bank's performance and praised its plans to expand in the Kingdom of Bahrain. He said the increase of financial institutions in Bahrain reflects Bahrain's status as a major financial centre in the Middle East. NBK is the biggest financial institution in Kuwait and the 4th largest in the Arab world, with a capital of $1.8 billion. The bank has been operational in Bahrain since 1977 as an offshore bank, but obtained a commercial licence last year. This is the bank's first branch to open in a GCC state outside of Kuwait. Financial news now. Bahrain Stock Exchange ended 76 points lower today after lackluster trading from the commercial banks, insurance and service sector to end trading at 2,335.53 points. Results indicated that 96 transactions took place with a volume of about 1,873,000 shares worth about 476,000 Bahraini dinars. Investors traded mainly in the services sector, representing 43% of the total value of shares traded.
Join MTC Vodafone for a whole new experience in mobile telecommunications.
The United States and China signed a far-reaching 5-year bilateral agreement governing seagoing trade between the two countries yesterday. By signing the agreement, American shipping companies will now be able to compete with Chinese companies on a more level playing field. The agreement offers American companies similar privileges to those that Chinese companies already enjoy in the United States. More cargo containers move between China and the United States than any other country in the world. Over 3.2 million containers travel via ship between the two countries every year. The agreement is expected to generate more business for American shipping companies and make it easier to move cargo across the Pacific Ocean.
To China's markets and customers, and those are businesses that support jobs.
And in our sports section now, the Boston Celtics push aside the Utah Jazz 102-80 last night. The Celtics' win in Utah was the first in nearly 4 years and their second in a row after breaking a 4-game losing streak. Utah lost for just the second time at home this season. And now to end the news, here are the headlines once again. His Majesty the King receives a briefing by the GCC Secretary-General on issues at the next GCC Summit in Kuwait. His Highness the Prime Minister receives His Highness the Crown Prince before his departure overseas. A car blast injures 41 US troops and 6 Iraqis in the Iraqi city of Mosul. And a suicide bombing near the Russian parliament kills at least 6 people. That's it for now from Bahrain Television's newsroom. You can watch the weather now with Mona from the news team. Goodbye.